Hi, my name is AHarris, and I'm going to talk to you today about my project. I'm going to be doing a project called Take a Hike, a guide to senior high outdoor and recreational education in Ohio. I'm going to first start talking about the introduction, the overview of my project, why there is a need for an outdoor recreational senior high guide for the curriculum, what is the purpose of it. I'm going to talk about current programs in use and the literature review, and then I'm going to briefly describe the guide for you. I'm going to talk about what will be included in that. To give you an introduction and to start with the topic, in 2014, 17% of children and adolescents were considered obese. We know that when we look at physical education programs, the goal is to create or to foster children who will be active for a lifetime. And if 17% of children and adolescents were considered obese, going on into their future, we can just think about what the signs are and what we think will continue to happen as they become adults. Hiking, canoeing, camping, and other outdoor recreational activities are vital tools in the fight against obesity. When we think about what can we do as physical educators to help them in their future, we need to be creative and come up with different ideas. If they are interested in team sports, or if they're interested in hiking, canoeing, camping, we need to implement those into the program and think about how are those going to be vital? How are these going to help these children and adolescents grow to be active, physically active adults who live healthy, productive, full lives? The problem, we see that according to McNamee and Timken, only 18% of adult physical activity is team sports. If only 18% of the activity is team sports, then why are we spending so much time in physical education classes talking about only team sports? This guide focuses on lifetime activities. We need to focus our attention as well as physical educators on those lifetime activities. That doesn't mean that we don't do team sports ever, but I think we just need to shift our focus, broaden what we are teaching. The Outdoor Tomorrow Foundation, that's an example of a program that's in use, but the Outdoor Tomorrow Foundation is very specifically in Texas, and it's very specifically about archery and fishing and hunting. And I encourage us as physical educators also, we need to broaden that. What about places like Ohio or Maine? What are they going to do with a curriculum that's meant for Texas? And what are you going to do if you aren't focusing on hunting, archery, or fishing? There's so many more outdoor activities. Which brings me to my next point, which, as far as I know, there is no current Ohio curriculum. We need to help those, if we're talking about engaging the environment is different wherever we may be. So a question that's kind of guiding my research or guiding the development of this guide is, how can more Ohio teachers be involved in teaching outdoor education? How can we engage more teachers to be involved in this? The purpose of this guide is simply to provide secondary teachers in Ohio with a guide for rationale, resources, and units for outdoor and recreational education. Not just giving them the information, but telling them why we should be doing these programs. Giving them resources so that they don't just have this book, but they can go out and they can find people who are willing to come to their classes as guest speakers. How can they fund these programs? Though they may think it's a great idea, they may feel like their hands are tied because the budget at their school is not high. Or what can they talk to their administrator about if their administrator is not for outdoor recreation? And they can use that rationale. They can use those resources. And then they also have units to help them as a launching pad, units to get them started when you may feel unsure about what you're doing as a teacher. It'll give them content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge too in the outdoor education realm. In a study completed by Sutherland, Stir, and Ivazo in 2016, many students described physical education as embarrassing and irrelevant. As a PE teacher, and I think often is the case with lots of PE teachers, we think about, well, we liked PE. That's why we became a PE teacher. But there's many students who are experiencing PE as embarrassing and irrelevant. I'm never going to play this game, so why am I playing it now? I hate going up to bat. So why do I have to do it in front of all my peers? Although those sometimes are good lessons to learn in different realms, we need to not pinpoint it and just keep it so focused. And we need to widen that range of activities that can help you to be a productive, physically active, healthy adult. The benefits of the outdoors, not only do these activities help lifelong, they're not just lifelong activities, but there is much research talking about the benefits of the outdoors in terms of your psychological renewal and your mental renewal. And these teachers need content knowledge. They may be passionate and wanting to do it, but they might not know how to begin how to begin any of these units, because they may have never done it before. This is limited in the fact that this guide is going to be designed for Ohio. Because there's not guides out there specifically for Ohio, this guide will be, and that'll limit it to Ohio. There's also a limitation as far as the desire of the teacher. If the teacher does not have a desire to teach outdoor education, then it's not going to do much for them. This guide isn't going to be worthwhile. But I'm assuming that most schools do not provide outdoor education, that teachers are looking for that, and that they're going to be looking for sources. I'm also assuming that the activities vary by location. For example, in Ohio, we may do something that you cannot do in Alaska. And in Washington State, they're going to probably do things that you can't do in South Carolina. So that's an assumption that we're going into making this guide. Some of the definitions that we're going to operate from: outdoor education are activities taking place mostly outdoors in and with the natural environment. Can include environmental and adventure education. Oftentimes adventure education, high ropes courses, cooperative exercises, trust exercises are part of outdoor education, but under the subset of adventure education. Lifetime activities, I've mentioned this already many times, but activities that students can participate in throughout their lifetime, usually low impact. This could include bicycling or canoeing or kayaking. Backpacking, a combination activity of hiking and camping, distinctive because you must carry everything in your backpack. Orienteering. When we're talking about orienteering, we're going to be talking about teaching students to use compasses and maps and how to get around. And then outdoor pursuits. Outdoor pursuits are being defined as anything that you do outside that gets you from one place to another. That could include hiking, canoeing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, mountain biking. The guide that I will be presenting is going to be divided. Chapter 2 is going to talk about history and current programs. Chapter 3 will be a layout of the rest of the guide. Chapter 4 is the guide itself. And Chapter 5 is a summary and future practices or directions that we can point these educators. If we look at the background of outdoor education, we can first look at John Muir and the Sierra Club. John Muir loved the outdoors. He went and especially settled in Yosemite. He fought for national parks and created something called the Sierra Club, which is still around today. Then the Boy Scouts of America were founded. This was all late 1800s, early 1900s. And the Boy Scouts of America were very focused on teaching life skills and teaching hard work ethics through many outdoor activities. Kurt Hahn and Outward Bound. Outward Bound is still around today as well. And this Outward Bound is a program that really focuses on getting students out and also teaching them those life skills that the Boy Scouts of America really focuses on as well. You can go on an Outward Bound trip, or you can go to an Outward Bound class, but this is outside of the classroom. Project Adventure was kind of born out of Outward Bound, and Project Adventure is more geared towards the classroom. There's a lot of ropes courses in Project Adventure, a lot of emotional and social learning through Project Adventure. We can see Cavett Eaton. He's a teacher in Utah who really worked with the public schools there, and he developed a really good outdoor education for Utah. So we're thinking about how can we do that? If he did it in Utah, how can we implement those same things in Ohio? The Outdoor Tomorrow Foundation is another one that I mentioned earlier about archery, fishing, and hunting, and that's in Texas. So how can we take things that they did well and implement that in Ohio for activities that are more in Ohio? U Explore is another Utah. That's for the college. So they did programs for these college students before they came to campus, and they talked to them about, they went on adventures and they loved it, and it's growing in the university. So how do we catch what is happening in the university into the secondary school? Outward Bound and Project Adventure, we talked about that. And then forest kindergartens. Those are for younger students, where they spend time every single day outside and exploring nature, being active out in the outdoors. So how do we take what they've learned for kindergartners or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds and implement some of those strategies for secondary education? The need for the guide, there is not that many school-based programs. Often they're outside of school-based programs, and we need more Ohio-based programs. This guide is going to give you both the secondary school and the Ohio. Some of the motivating factors for teachers, we talk about why do they want to teach? Oftentimes they get into a professional rut and they need to have different things, teach different things so it's not the same thing year after year. Or maybe that teacher really loves the outdoors themselves and they want to bring that into the classroom. A teacher may not, though, teach outdoor education because maybe their administrator doesn't want them to change up what they've already been doing. Maybe the cost seems too high, or maybe that teacher doesn't have the content knowledge to feel adequate to begin this program. The guide will talk about benefits and successful programs, the design, units, materials and equipment, and resources for Ohio educators. When we talk about resources, we're talking about how can they get grants? How can they find those who are experts in the field to bring them into the classroom? This is meant for Ohio physical educators. And units that are in the guide: orienteering, backpacking, hiking, outdoor cooking, boating, and water safety. All units that will begin as a beginner level unit, teaching these students from the beginning, not expecting any knowledge beforehand. At the end of the guide will be resources for outdoor educators. Who can help them in their journey? What state organizations, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, or REI programs, what can we bring in to help us as educators? What do they need to know content knowledge-wise? What do they need to know about kayaking? What do they need to know about hiking that they should be teaching their students? And where can they go? Where are the metro parks? Where are the state parks? Where are good places to take their students? They can also learn about grants and ways to save money. So that's not a limiting factor. So that's not a barrier to a teacher starting outdoor education. And then here are my references from all those places. Thank you.